Hi, I'm Kevin Fleischman.
And I'm Marcy Robledo.
We're a couple film programmers from the Over the Rhine International Film Festival in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And we're a couple of Gen Xers. Welcome to the Gen X Lens, where we combine our love of film programming, and our love of Gen X movies.
Yep. And so for this week, we are going to shower some love on one of the biggest blockbusters of Gen X. That's the 1986 movie Top Gun, in honor of Top Gun Maverick coming out in a few weeks. This 1986 film starred Tom Cruise and was directed by Tony Scott. It played a huge part in all of our Gen X lives. Marcy, what is your first memory? What's your memory of seeing Top Gun?
Well, I saw it several times, which is huge because back in 1986, I was 15 years old. Summer of 86, I was 15 years old. And I grew up in rural Indiana, where the closest movie house or movie theater would have been 45 minutes away. So it was a big deal. And I saw this movie several times. First time with my brother. I think I even saw it once by myself. So again, I was 15 and I was a chick going to see this macho military movie. But I really liked it because we really haven't seen anything prior to that. And we'll go further into more detail later. But I think that's what struck me the most, is that this was one of the first films that I would see over and over and over at the movie theater, that there was a concerted effort to go see. I had to go find somebody to drive me to go see this movie.
We were also resourceful back then, right? We figured out a way.
Right.
Figured out a way.
What about you? What are some of your earliest memories?
Well, let's see. I would have seen this movie the summer before ninth grade for me, and I definitely remember seeing it in the theater. I don't think I made the trek to the Cineplex quite as often as you did. I remember only seeing it once in the theater and then a million times on video.
Yep.
But the one thing I do remember about seeing this film is that my dad worked for IBM.
Okay.
And for at least 3 or 4 years after Top Gun came out, he would have to tell people at whatever function he was at, you know, those monitors in Top Gun, when they get a lock on the other guy's plane, I used to make those. So, like, that's my dad's. He has many claims to fame, but that was at the top of the list for quite a few years. So Top Gun was mentioned and alluded to often in my household. I was thinking about, or not thinking about, but I went back and looked at all the movies that came out this summer. I'm sure maybe we'll hit some of these in future episodes, but it was Back to the Future, Ferris Bueller, Aliens, Karate Kid Part 2, Howard the Duck. I don't remember seeing very many of those in the theater. I think I saw Ferris Bueller in the theater out of all those, amazingly. This was that one movie, though, that summer I felt I had to go see. Definitely being like a 13-year-old boy in a small town where, a lot of military memorials up around town. It was my jam. It was totally in my wheelhouse. I feel specifically made for me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, I think we're 10 years into the big blockbuster films. So by this time, we've had Star Wars and Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Jaws. So big blockbuster movies were already part of the vernacular, the movie vernacular. Yeah. And so it just fell in line with that big summer. You gotta go see it and just be enveloped by the bigness of it all.
Yeah.
But then also, I think it was kind of the first time we really got a peek at what a military function looked like. I mean, what's sexier than fighter pilots? Not right. Many things are more sexy than fighter pilots. Even if they're not on the beach playing volleyball. Just the mere fact that they're fighter pilots.
Right.
The sex appeal goes up exponentially. So yeah, I think all those components were just really really the part of the draw, but then also the movie itself was a propaganda piece. You know, let's be honest, it was a propaganda piece. And Tony Scott, I did some research. In the back of my mind, I kind of thought, I think he came from an advertising background. And so when I did research, he and his brother Ridley Scott both came from advertising. And so it has that sexiness of a ad piece. I mean, you definitely see it through with the jets flying in the golden hour. You know, the lighting is just perfect, and the actions, the fast cutting of the sequences, it's all very ad-like.
Yes, it is slick. It is slick. You know, I was going to talk to that point. On my rewatch, one thing that I really noticed was, you know, at the end of the day, this movie is just, to me, like, about cool stuff. You know, like, you know, yes, the sexy fighter pilots, but, you know, for me, it was just big planes, ships, just a lot of cool stuff. But there's a lot of skill that went into this. And just to speak to your point, the opening sequence I found just actually stunning on the rewatch. You know, I was thinking in my head, Danger Zone opens this film, and it does, but it doesn't open the film. It's that solemn music with the bells at the beginning, and like you said, it's that magic hour. It's I don't know if it's dusk or dawn, but the orange skies, and you see this aircraft carrier and the crew running around. They're all silhouetted, so you don't see anyone's face. They're all in shadow, and they just almost seem like, not ants, but kind of like, you know, little worker ants. And it's just this well-oiled machine. It's very solemn. And then the moment the first plane takes off, you see those the fire come out the back. That's when Danger Zone hits, and the mood completely changes. Like, all of a sudden, you can see close-ups of the crew's face. So before, they're all silhouette. You know, you can see them in the flesh, and instead of being, you know, very mechanical, like, you know, they're pointing, they got their flags and their signals. Like, every time a plane goes off, they start like juking and jiving and dancing, like, woohoo, isn't this cool? And it's just that combination of finally seeing faces and emotion, of seeing them dancing around, and of seeing these jet planes take off. You know, it was just such an amazing, piece of propaganda, but at the same time, just, it was announcing to the audience, this is cool and this is important, but the jet pilots and the jets, this is where it's at. This is when it gets fun. This is when it gets funky. This is when it gets sexy, whatever you want to call it. Exactly. I just thought it was brilliant, that opening 5 minutes. It's on the rewatch, it's such a clear cut between when the music shifts, everything shifts, and it's all about those fighter pilots getting in the air and doing what they do. And that's essentially what the movie is about. It tells you what the movie is going to be without a word.
Yeah, and you know, a good film doesn't have to be complicated or emotive. It could just be fun. And this is a perfect example of just a fun movie. And but when you think about the skill that it takes to make something that looks so simple, that's where the craft and the artisanship comes in. But when I saw it again a couple of weeks ago, the thing that I noticed the most was the claustrophobicness of being inside the ship in the aircraft carrier, and then also the commander was smoking a cigar. And I could almost smell the cigar and just, you know, the stuffiness, because everybody's sweating, and oh my goodness, I would have passed out. But you know, I'm sure that was pretty common back then. I don't know what it is now, of course, but that was such a visceralness of being in those tight quarters, and again, the skill of the DP and the director to create that environment. And you know, the guys are all the tenseness, you can feel it. You can smell the smoke and all of that. I mean, that's just that's just artistry.
It
Simple
is.
but artistic.
It is. And like you said, it's interesting. I did not know about the advertising background, and advertising is, all about emotion. And you're so spot on. Like everything, just the way things are shot, from the direction, the quick cutting, that cigar. That's funny when you say you can smell the cigar smoke. It's like smell-o-vision, right? Like you can smell that cigar. Everything is driving emotion in this film. Even what I didn't really think about the emotional aspect as much as what I was talking about earlier too. But you're right. Like that's such an emotional manipulation, which can sound like an underhanded thing, but that's why we go to the movies, right? We want our emotions manipulated.
Yeah, I want to escape for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
So what about some of the characters? What did you think about some of the character developments? And
I go back to my 13-year-old self, and I thought Tom Cruise was it. And he is it still, but I wound up a complete role reversal. I idolized Tom Cruise's character as a kid, and I found Iceman to be the villain of the film. And I wouldn't say that completely 180 flip-flopped. I certainly wouldn't call Tom Cruise the villain of this movie, but when I think about everything that Iceman does, when I think about everything that Iceman says, Val Kilmer is completely 100% correct. And you think, why I'm trying to imagine or reimagine, why did I think he was such a bad guy? It has to be just that he was in the way of the main character, right? Because he's a fighter pilot. He's trying to win Top Gun. It's not like he's trying to take anything away per se. It's just they're competing. He tells Tom Cruise straight up, you're great, but you're dangerous, which is a very, very honest assessment. And the one thing that I really found striking was the lack of protocol around pilots who lose their best friend in the middle of a flight. I mean, you'd be in weeks and weeks of, I'm sure, therapy and PTSD treatment, but they want him in the sky the next day, and they're ragging on Tom Cruise because he can't get it together in the course of 2 or 3 days. Everyone is so brutal and hard on Tom Cruise, and the only person who says something nice to him is Iceman.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not grandiose, it's not flowery. Yeah, I don't remember exactly what he says, but he says something like, "Hey, I'm sorry it happened. He was a good guy." And literally, that's the most positive note that Tom Cruise's character gets. So yeah, I kind of fell back in love with Iceman, and it just brought chills back to me. The pen thing when I was a kid, every kid in my school was trying to flip the pen around his fingers like Iceman. He was cool. And I felt he was even cooler this time around. What about you? What did you think about the characters?
Well, I definitely appreciated Iceman. Looking back now as an adult, I really didn't get it when I was younger. Again, it was looking at through 15-year-old eyes, and he was the jerk, because we knew that Tom Cruise was the hero. He's the main character. Yeah. But when you look at combat, and what he was saying was true, and who do you want to be fighting with? Somebody who's dangerous or somebody who's smart and has your back? Who do you want? A Maverick? Fighting with you, who is unpredictable and can possibly risk the mission, which may possibly risk your life and the rest of your crew. So it was interesting to really reflect on that, and really getting a great appreciation on Iceman. The other character who I saw through new lens sort of was Kelly McGillis. In the film, I think in real life, I think she's 5 or 6 years older than Tom Cruise. In the film, she's a doctor of astrophysics. And when she comes in, the scene where she comes in and she's walking through the hangar, and then they show her legs, and the pantyhose with with the seams in the back, which has a lot of connotation of sexual manner of a very specific occupation that some women may have. I did not really.
No need to get into details. We haven't decided what we're rated, if we're PG, PG-13, or R yet. So let's just leave it at your description for now.
We'll just leave it there. But yeah, I mean, at 15, I was just kind of, this is a really weird. I really didn't understand it, but I knew something was wrong. Something didn't fit. Now at 51, it was really annoying. Like, come on, she is an astrophysics doctor. She has a PhD in astrophysics, and she's walking on concrete, and really that's bad for the back, bad for the knees. It's not real. But that's not to say that a doctor of astrophysics woman can't be sexy and intelligent all at the same time. So I think they kind of cheated on that, shortchanged her character in that way. And then also the fact that, you know, she's with these guys every 6-8 weeks. There's a new rotation for her to fall in love with the one. And that was it was very shallow. And from what I understand, some of the things that I read, that some of the audience, when they were doing testing, that they wanted to see a romance, which is kind of strange. I don't know why they would, but anyway, so they threw in the character Charlie. So all right. But
it's such, you know, it's such a testosterone filled environment that even the female character had to name Charlie, right?
Yeah. Yeah, her real name is Charlene, and her call sign is Charlie. It's like, what can it be? Something like Andromeda or Palladian or Pleiades, or, you know, something astrophysics-y.
I think every time I watch this movie for the rest of my life, I'm going to be thinking Andromeda. It's going to be Andromeda to me. That is the perfect name. Yep. I mean, I'll hear the click clack of her heels on that cement, killing her back, but like,
yeah,
here comes Andromeda.
Right. Yeah. So what other characters did you find, or any other aspects did you find that you liked about it or didn't like about the film?
You know, I'm gonna just kind of go through my notes real quickly here. You know, we haven't talked about the famous or infamous volleyball match. The one thing that I took away from it is that Tom Cruise, or Maverick, I guess, Maverick wore jeans to go play beach volleyball in. And I don't know, like maybe there was a cut scene where he hadn't been planning on playing volleyball, because the guy gets on his motorcycle and goes straight to Charlie's house after for his date with Charlene. Seems like poor planning all around for a beach volleyball game to me. And the other thing I noticed was the soundtrack. The Beyond Danger Zone, I had kind of forgotten how big a song the Berlin song was.
Yeah.
Take My Breath Away.
Loved it.
You know, like when he first goes over there, they play that song. And, you know, this thought popped up in my head. And I'm like, you know, you hear this song and like you automatically know what's going to happen between these two. Like, it's almost like you can't have the song playing and have them not sleep together, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know about you, but on the rewatch, like they get their money's worth from that song. Like they do not sleep together on that first date. And they play that song like 8 different times. Like anytime they're in the same room, like non-military room together, yeah, that song is playing. And it was really, I don't know if they blew the money on the music budget on that one song. And they just had to keep using it again and again, but it permeates the whole film. I found that kind of astounding.
Yeah. I mean, even the Danger Zone, I mean, it was just it was just solid soundtrack for that for that movie. It can't get better than that, because I mean,
Yeah.
they do exactly what they were meant to do. As soon as you hear the first few bars of any of those, you know exactly the movie, but then also the emotion. Yeah, they just did a really great job. Whoever was the music director did a fantastic job.
Agreed.
Let's see. I have my little cat here.
Hey,
Um,
did the cat watch Top Gun?
she did.
Okay. How many paws up? All 4 paws, or?
I think she enjoyed the volleyball scene as well.
Excellent.
Let's see. What did you not like about the film? If you have any negative.
Yeah, honestly, I don't have a whole lot of negative about it, other than watching it as an older person now, as a veteran Gen Xer. It seems a lot emptier. I didn't feel as the propaganda didn't quite do its job as well on me now as it did 30 odd years ago. But like you said something earlier about, movies don't have to be complicated. Sometimes just simple is good. Simple is entertainment. And I watched it. I'm like, if I watched that today, I would not be talking about it 30 years later, or even probably 30 minutes later, to be honest. I would have watched it and said, that was really cool. Good time. And it probably would have just like floated out of my brain into the ether. But because I caught it at the time I did, and a combination of just what it was and what it meant to the world at the time, and who I was being a 13-year-old, it was just the perfect storm to absolutely fall in love with that movie. But so I don't really have a whole lot of negative to say, because I don't want to dishonor that memory of my younger self. But yeah, if my son, who is 13 right now, came home and said, "Dad, you got to watch this movie with me," I'd watch it and I'd forget about it probably.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, other than the whole Charlie character, that really annoys me, especially now, all these years later. But even at the first viewing, or my 15-year-old viewing, it wasn't that big of a deal. But since it's coming out in a few weeks, what are you thinking?
I'm ready to get back in the air. I'm psyched about it. It's funny to be as old as I am. I'm 49 years old. I'm looking at 50 in a few months here. It's so cool to have lived with a franchise this long, where that movie was made for 13-year-old me. I mean, I know it had a wide appeal, but that was probably made for teenage boys for the most part. And that franchise has grown up, it feels like at the same pace and age that I have. So when we come back to the story, what I'm hoping is for more than the just cool stuff, like I said, that is very enjoyable, but kind of forgettable. It's not long lasting. I'm hoping that we get more of a story this time, because that's what's going to appeal to the people who have grown up with it and are older now. So it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this. What about you?
Same thing. I'm hoping that the story fleshes out a little bit, and it looks like, based on the trailers, that Goose's son, who his call sign is Rooster, and is played by Miles Teller.
Okay.
So it's going to come full circle. So apparently Maverick is going to be training Rooster, and so there's some drama there. So yeah, I'm hoping that there's a bit of a storyline to go along with the 30 years later.
Right.
But some of the behind the scene trailers that I've seen, it looks gorgeous.
Nice.
Absolutely gorgeous. And they have cameras within the cockpits, with all the actors. Their actors are actually flying. So you see the different gravitational pulls on their features, but you can't act those. Gravity is actually doing it. Yeah, I mean, it's just all of that. I mean, they've just taken that technicality and that artistry to the next level, which I'm really, really excited to look at or look forward to watching. And but I do have to say that I'm a little annoyed. Okay, not a little, a lot annoyed that they did not bring back Kelly McGillis and they did not bring back Meg Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
And according to what I've read and heard, that they didn't even invite them back. So all the guys were invited back, but not the ladies.
It's a guy's party, I guess.
So I mean, it's just it kind of lit a little distaste in my mouth from that.
I'm sad that Meg Ryan's not coming back. I don't know if I knew that, because I knew it was going to be Goose's son. I mean, and what an amazing opportunity for some storytelling to have mom there again. Oh my gosh, that would have been incredible. And wasted opportunity. That's a wasted opportunity.
Yep. And Meg Ryan, even though she had such a small part in that movie, it was a memorable part because she was kind of goofy and, you know, such a mom and a little, you know, ditzy, which, I mean, she plays that a lot in different characters in different films, but that was the first time you ever really saw her. And so yeah, I think it was definitely a missed opportunity to really flesh out that storyline.
I think it was. You know, speaking as a 13-year-old boy, she was the woman we all the boys remember from that movie. You know, especially the "Take Me to Bed or Lose Me Forever" line. She was like just, you know, the ultimate there. And on the rewatch, I was really moved by her quick scene after Goose dies. I don't really understand it. They're in this big room with the light coming in, and they're just sitting there. I didn't really understand why they were sitting there or what was happening, but just the way she looks at Mav, the way she tries to console him, you know, because it's always about Mav, but that's a whole nother thing. Like, she, like, those scenes, I think she was excellent in. She really, really was, just emotionally. I felt like I could connect to her emotionally really, really well. And yeah, so that part kind of expanded for me on the rewatch. And like I said, missed opportunity there. I think not casting her in this new film.
Yeah, but overall, you know, I'm really looking forward to it. I think now just where we are in the world of still recovering from pandemic, and we have some ugliness across the world that is occurring, and we need heroes. So I'm glad that they did keep this film from not going to streaming, and that, you know, they did wait until we were able to go back to the movie theaters.
Oh yeah, you guys see those jets on the big screen. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm not too upset, but yeah, I mean, it's just looking forward to it, and we'll see how it goes, and we'll probably convene later after we watch it, and we'll hear each other's notes about it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. All right, well, should we put our programmer hats on?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, so for this section of the show, if you're watching this for the first time, and you are, because this is the first show we've ever done, at the end of each show, Marcy and I are going to kind of imagine we're programming one day of a film festival, and the movie we're talking about goes in that day. And what are we going to surround it with? So we can pick, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 25 films, however many we feel like. So for my film festival, I'm going to go all in on Iceman, because that was my biggest takeaway, just how misunderstood I'm sorry, how much my 13-year-old self misunderstood Iceman. So I'm going all in on Val Kilmer. And, he was at the end of the movie, he says, "I'll be your wingman anytime," so he kind of flip-flops the role. He's the lead, and then he's the wingman. So I'm going to take a wingman role of Val Kilmer and a leading man role for Val Kilmer in my film festival. My wingman role is, I think, the greatest wingman character of all time in cinema history, and that would be Doc Holliday in Tombstone. So I'm going to program Tombstone to go along with it.
Very nice.
Val Kilmer's character in Tombstone is the most quotable character in movie history. I mean, you're a daisy if you do. I'm your huckleberry. I got 2 guns here, one for each of you. I mean, I could go on and on. He is top 3 movie character for me of all time, and great wingman for Wyatt Earp. So I'm gonna go Tombstone, and then for my leading man Val role, you may be thinking Doors, his ultimate leading role, but I'm actually gonna go with a recent documentary called Val. Have you seen Val?
No,
Super good, so good. So Val Kilmer, throughout his entire career and his life, had basically carried a camera around with him. He has thousands and thousands of hours of footage of his life. And he has a reputation for being pretty difficult. He's gotten slammed and slandered by many of his coworkers, and it's a true leading man role because he gets to tell his story on his terms. He's got the receipts, he's got his video, and I'm not saying he wasn't difficult. I'm sure he was. There's 2 sides to every story, but I feel like we've never really heard Val Kilmer's side of the story. And what makes his story so poignant is he has throat cancer. And he is losing his voice. So to be able to tell his story, not with his physical voice, but through these pictures, is pretty astounding. And the voiceover, like, I couldn't understand it for the first half hour of the film because they don't tell you. Like, I couldn't understand how he was narrating this film because you hear him with his extremely raspy voice. It's his son who sounds exactly like him.
Really?
It's amazing, so his son is reading Val Kilmer's voice, using first person. It's really astounding. And if you like Val Kilmer, if you've ever liked him in any movie, if you have any interest in the guy, it's a fantastic documentary. So that's my Top Gun day of the film festival. Top Gun, Tombstone, Val.
Okay. Well, I'm going to switch it up a little bit and honor the women, the ladies who have been slighted a little bit. So for Kelly McGillis, I think I'm going to program Witness. So Witness came out a year before, and so the character that she played was an Amish woman. So completely different than the sexy astrophysicist.
Andromeda.
Andromeda, right? But she had such a great presence in Witness. So we'll program her for that. And then with Meg Ryan, Joe versus the volcano.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
And in general, I'm not a huge Meg Ryan fan, especially since she did rom-com after rom-com after rom-com. I mean, it really didn't stretch her very much. But that particular movie was just a really great little movie. She was paired really well with Tom Hanks. I think that was the first film that they played together in. Mm-hmm. And she had she played multiple characters. And so it really stretched her chops quite a bit. So for Meg, Joe versus the volcano. And then we're going to add in a more recent film, but it's still within the GenX timeline and with a Gen Xer, G.I. Jane.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Staying with the military theme, bringing in Demi Moore as G.I. Jane. And so that would be my film festival, my one-day film festival. Those 4.
I would buy it. I would buy a pass. I'm in.
Good. Well, and then also today, I was watching the evening news, and today 4 women at West Point, they all won the Rhodes Scholar. So they're all Rhodes Scholarship. They won the Rhodes Scholarship and the Rhodes Scholars.
That's fantastic. Oh, great.
Yeah. Yeah. We've come a long way since 1986.
Certainly have. We certainly have. Long way to go. Long way to go, but
yep.
we have come a long way.
So I'll be interested to see how they, I know there's a female fighter pilot in the film, and then Top Gun Maverick. So I'm interested to see how that's handled, and we'll reserve comment until after we watch it.
Yeah.
So
sounds good.
So that's my, so our audience, we need to ask our audience, what would they program? What programming would they include for their Top Gun Film Festival Day? So folks, in the comment below, let us know what are your 2, 3, 4 films that you would match up with Top Gun. And when you watch the next Top Gun, we'll come back and we'll comment and we'll continue the conversation.
Can't wait. This was fun. I say we do it again, Marcy.
All right. Oh, we're going to do it again. We have a lot of films to cover. So do you have any final words before we say goodbye?
I don't. Wow. I didn't prepare any final words. No, I just can't wait to hear what people would like to program with Top Gun. I can't wait to hear what everyone has to say about that. And I can't wait to talk to you and hear everyone else's thoughts about Maverick.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, we're going to go ahead and say goodbye. And folks, don't forget to please hit the subscribe button, like button, the notification button. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. And see you next time. This is the GenX Lens.